Hello, my name is Father Charlie Bouchard, and I'm here to offer you a few thoughts on the readings for the weekend of July 20th. You know, if you've ever been to the Middle East, or even if you've ever visited a family with Middle Eastern ancestry, you will have noticed that the emphasis on hospitality is extraordinary. That Middle Easterners go to great lengths to make sure that guests feel welcome by providing them with warmth, with food, with drink, with all the things that we would expect. This is kind of countercultural in America. We can be a little bit sloppy about hospitality and sometimes not offer it at all. But to these people, it is very important. And there's a history to this. As we read in the first reading today about Abraham entertaining these three men who show up. Of course, he's not aware that they are angels, but he extends to them this hospitality and makes them feel very welcome even before he knew that they were from God. So it shows how essential hospitality was in the early church and in early Palestine. It was absolutely crucial at a time when there were no Motel 6s, no fast food places, no pizza delivery, that when people were traveling, they simply had to depend on one another in order to survive. So when they came to a town like the three men did in the first reading today, they depended on and counted on the hospitality of strangers in order to help them meet their needs. So it's not at all surprising that Martha, in today's gospel, sets to preparing a meal, offering hospitality to Jesus and presumably his apostles who were with him. Now that would have been at least 13 people. So she was undertaking a pretty serious obligation here in preparing this food, and it's no wonder that she got exasperated that her sister was just sitting there doing nothing while she's running around trying to prepare food and drink for all these guests, offering them the hospitality, which was so important in that time. It is not surprising, it is surprising that Jesus told her to cool it. He said, "Martha, Martha, you are too anxious and you worry about too many things." He said, "There is only one thing that is important, and that is what Mary has chosen. She has chosen the better part." Well, he clearly appreciates the effort that Martha has made to offer them hospitality. He tells her that there's another way of looking at this, that there is a way in which we can see the contemplative life as equally important to the active life. Now, Jesus' words here, and especially his affirmation of what Mary was doing as she sat at his feet and listened, has given rise to a lot of controversy and discussion in the church, and it's kind of created this conflict or this competition between the active and the contemplative vocations in Christian life. And of course, again, partly because of what Jesus said, the contemplative life usually ends up with the advantage. We look at contemplatives, monks and nuns who are in monasteries devoting their lives to prayer and solitude and contemplation as having a higher or a better vocation. And it is a difficult vocation, one that is not chosen by very many people. But I don't think that we have to make it an either-or kind of thing. I think that all of us have to cultivate an active life and also a contemplative life. There is a passage from the famous monk who was a contemplative, although people might say that he traveled and was a little too active for some people's taste. But the monk Thomas Merton once wrote this. He said, "Contemplation is a very dangerous activity. It not only brings us face to face with God, it brings us as well face to face with the world, face to face with the self. And then, of course, something must be done. Nothing stays the same once we have found God within. And so I think what Merton is saying here is that there is a kind of reciprocal connection between contemplation and action. On the one hand, we can contemplate, and our prayer leads us into Christian action, into preaching the gospel, into helping the poor, whatever it might be that we would go out and do. On the other hand, sometimes action can lead us to contemplation. I know in my own life, many times I've had experiences of doing something, maybe preaching, maybe going out and doing some kind of parish or sacramental ministry, or even just encountering somebody. And that leads me to a certain kind of contemplative stance and to ask myself, okay, what really happened here? Where was God in this activity? What did this activity mean to God? Or how did that enable me to share in the gospel and become someone who represents it and who lives up to it? I think instead of creating a conflict or competition between action and contemplation, we maybe could look at it this way. The active life is definitely about offering hospitality, but perhaps we could also think of our Christian vocation as offering hospitality to the Word of God, and to the gospel. I know that's why some of you today are listening to this recording, because you want to prepare to hear the word of the Lord on Sunday and to welcome it fully into your heart by understanding it more completely. So I believe that, we can practice hospitality in our hearts toward the Word of God so that it has a place to dwell within us, so that the Word can take root in us and grow and become fruitful, which will eventually lead to genuine, authentic action in the name of the gospel and in the name of the Lord. So let us learn to cherish both the active kind of contemplation that we all practice, to deepen that, to help us to grow in respect for the needs of others. But let us also cultivate this hospitality to the Word, this kind of contemplative life, which opens us up to hear the Word of God and to become one with it.